Man, great first fight. I'm looking forward to the second one. I think, the first one was self-explanatory. Early was controlled by Fury, late controlled by Usyk. Amazing fight, and can't wait for the second one.
Because if Tyson beats him, he then becomes the best heavyweight of his generation. I wouldn't disrespect him at all. He's done everything that's been asked of him. As an amateur, as a pro, he's undefeated.
Just like Usyk, possibly by stoppage late, and not by a punch. I think it'd just be a mercy call by the referee.
With only a few days left in the long-awaited unification showdown, many eminent analysts and industry experts have spoken up and shared their views about the extravagant 21st of December event in the heart of Saudi Arabia, renowned for his rather blunt analysis of the fighters and the events. Eddie Hearn thinks that the rematch will be an extraordinary affair where both fighters have an equal chance of winning and moving forward to more lucrative fights like that with Anthony Joshua.
I think Usyk's a favourite in a rematch, but Tyson Fury can definitely win that fight. A lot depends on physically what that fight took out of both men. Like Usyk was exhausted after that fight, and Fury took a lot of punishment in the 9th round as well. So, very good fight, very competitive fight, one that both men can win. Presented Usyk for a long time. I love him, but I want Tyson to win because he's British, and I think it could set up. Whatever happens, going to set up a big AJ fight, but for the World Championship would be unbelievable. So, who's freshest? Is the punch resistance still there? I don't know. Fascinated by it and can't wait to be there. Obviously, no fighter in the fight, but just fascinated to watch it.
Now, although Eddie's most of these comments seemed optimistic, the promoter did resort to taking shots at Fury, stating that he might not be as good a talent as he is being made out to be because he hasn't really beaten anyone of worth. And the one bout he did have with a formidable foe, he lost.
He'll go down as a great heavyweight who was amazing for the sport, British World Heavyweight Champion, great personality, but not a true great, in my opinion, because he just hasn't beaten the opposition, right? He beat Deontay Wilder. Like, where's the other elite guys that he beat?
Comparing this record with that of Usyk, Eddie emphasized that at this point, Usyk has nothing left to prove because he has already attained everything that he could have dreamed of, with this next possible win being a cherry on top.
And that's why they need each other. AJ needs Fury. AJ needs to beat Usyk. Usyk's done it now. Usyk's a generational great, right? Undisputed Cruiserweight World Champion, beat AJ twice, beat Tyson Fury. If he beats him again, he's home and dry. Do you know what I mean? Unless AJ can come back and get him.
Looking back at the previous fight, it is no surprise that Eddie seems to fancy Usyk more based on how the Ukrainian fighter did not give up till the end and made sure to hurt Tyson as much as possible, especially in the brutal 9th round.
What can he do differently? I was quite fascinated in the first fight by the fact that Usyk walked him down and beat him up. I thought Fury might come out on the front foot, but following the first fight, just slightly favour Oleksandr Usyk in that rematch.
Eddie also remarked how with fighters like Usyk, countless other factors are involved that are not as easy to diffuse as many might believe them, because even if you are a huge fighter equipped with tremendous power, Usyk will know how to dismantle your defense.
I think it's very difficult to bet against Usyk when he's beaten you already. I think Tyson can be better. I think obviously with the cut and everything before, probably his build-up wasn't, what it should or could be.
Sharing his take on what strategy can be utilized by Tyson this time around, Eddie stated that even though Tyson has been vigorously training for the course of the last couple of months following his defeat, it is still quite a forbidding task to take on Usyk once again.
What can he do differently? I was quite fascinated in the first fight by the fact that Usyk walked him down and beat him up. I thought Fury might come out on the front foot, but then again, that kind of suits Usyk as well. He's a very good counter-puncher. But the fact that he was able to do that, that's why I think it was a remarkable performance. For a 15-stone guy to push back a 20-stone guy and beat him up.
Agreeing with Eddie that Usyk has the upper hand in this bout, professional British boxer Anthony Yarde stated that the major factor that led to Usyk's triumph was Tyson's inability to take the fight and his opponent seriously no matter how many times he was forewarned.
If I had to choose somebody, I would say Usyk again. Usyk again.
For rinse and repeat, because you don't think Tyson Fury can get the best version of himself in the ring?
I think Tyson Fury's got the attributes to beat Usyk, and I feel like if he is more serious, because there was times in that first fight where he did seem like he was playing around. He did seem like he was overly confident. But Usyk, from what I've seen, he adapts, and he was just in Fury's face for the whole fight.
One major factor that Anthony brought to light was how, though many still claim that Tyson is the greatest heavyweight fighter of this era, he seems to have lost his charm a long time ago, especially after the vicious trilogy with Deontay Wilder and all the vicious knockdowns he faced.
The only thing I would say is, we haven't seen the same Fury since them Wilder fights.
That's the worry.
All 3 fights he got knocked down, and they were heavy knockdowns, and he hasn't been... Them fights were his comeback.
Fascinated at the idea of this fight in general, Anthony commended Usyk, stating that no matter what is thrown at him from Fury's side, he will always be prepared to counter it, which makes this once-in-a-lifetime fight even more interesting to watch for the die-hard boxing fan.
That's true, but I also can see that being his undoing.
Right.
Because I feel like when Fury is a bit like elusive and he looks like he's messing about, but he's doing things which are working, if he goes in there too serious, that will play right into Usyk's hands. Because Usyk will see certain things he's trying to do. Instead of him scratching his nose and throwing a crazy jab, he's gonna speed it and trying to outbox Usyk, and Usyk will just be side to side, stepping in. So I feel like it's such an interesting fight.
Meanwhile, with both the fighters now geared up to face one another for another epic showdown, which will eventually decide their futures, the public and the media have started to hover around the fighter in hopes of getting any hint of weakness from either of them, and Tyson seems to be the main prey in this regard. Talking about insecurities and fighters' inabilities to defeat their past demon, Tyson Fury's old nemesis, Deontay Wilder, has stepped forward to share his take on the fight, stating that at the end of the day, the main deciding factor of these bouts is who craves it more.
I don't know, you know, it all depends on what dog brings, what bite to the fight. You know, many times we have good days and many times we have bad days, you know. For me,
being one of the harshest critics of Tyson since the beginning of his career, Deontay thinks that the result of the previous fight was absolutely accurate and even less harsh due to the last-minute involvement of the biased referee to save Tyson from further humiliation.
Do you think Fury definitely lost that fight? Did you have
most definitely. Most definitely. I think the ref saved him from getting knocked out as well, too.
Okay. Just to finish,
gifts.
Analyzing the difference between the stances of both fighters, Deontay thinks that in this case, Usyk might have an edge based on his immaculate southpaw fighting style, which not only gives him an edge against his opponent, but it also makes him less predictable.
Sets up everything, and I had to go back to displaying my jab. I had to go back to setting things up with my jab, and then coming with the right hand and stuff like that. And you know, I love southpaws as well. So, you know, we won't know until that time comes.
Deontay also shed some light on the other focal advantages possessed by the Ukrainian fighter, stating that contrary to popular belief, Usyk's smaller size gives him an edge against his much larger opponents based on how it allowed him to outmaneuver them.
Usyk, it seems smaller, but he seems quicker and faster. You know, he throws good combinations as well. I don't know as far as who winning. I always say, man, may the best man win. Well, hopefully those guys get in the ring healthy and they get out of the ring healthy and give the world a great fight. It's good to see unification in the heavyweight division. You know, that hasn't happened in a long time.
Reiterating the same ideas as Wilder about Usyk winning the last fight without any doubt, notable boxing analyst and reporter Adam Smith stated that going into the rematch, Usyk will always be the fan favorite no matter how much Tyson or his camp tries to portray otherwise.
Anything can happen in heavyweight boxing. It was a terrific fight first time around. Usyk won it fair and square, and you got to probably say he's favourite going in because he's proved it once already. Can anyone beat Usyk? He finds a way. He's a magician. He was incredible to be around.
Having witnessed the Ukrainian fighter in full swing inside his training camp, Adam revealed some astonishing details on how, despite taking things slow based on his recent outstanding victory, it looks as if this rematch might have ignited a new passion inside of Usyk.
Training-wise, he's training 3 times a day, but Fury's, you know, locked everyone away, and that's serious. And he's Usyk. Is there any way that he could...
However, talking about Tyson's side of camp, Adam seems a bit hesitant to give any solid remarks based on how all the activities involved in the preparation have been kept under tight wraps, and how the fight can go either way based on what they have been planning for the last couple of months.
But Fury's, locked everyone away, and that's serious. And he's got the size and he's got the reach, and if he uses it right, he was brilliant in the middle part of the fight, but he didn't get it right at the beginning or the end. So
one aspect, however, that Adam did seem sure about was the very controversial decision about Tyson going into this fight heavier than before, which according to Adam can be quite the weapon if it is harnessed properly, because this added size can finally grant Tyson the stoppage that he has been yearning for since the last fight.
We'll go for the stoppage this time. I think that he'll try and utilize his size. I think he'll do everything he can to try and tire Usyk out in the first 6, 7, 8 rounds. The trouble is if Usyk's still there, then it gets problematic, but I think that's what Tyson's got to do, and he won't be able to deal with Usyk's footwork. But look, I think Sugar Hill's coming for the knockout, so I think Fury will come in a bit bigger. I think they'll try and utilise that size advantage. They'll normally say a good big guy beats a good little guy, but Usyk's an exceptional.
Talking about the complex history between Tyson and his performance in rematches, Adam emphasized that even though he believes that the fighter can make a spectacular comeback, it is a matter of whether he still has what it takes to return to the ring with the same old ferocity.
Of course, there are belts on the line. Fury can become a 3-time heavyweight champion, which is an exclusive club. But he's very good at rematches, and he's very good at getting revenge. He's proved it all his career, but has he still got it at this stage? After the Ngannou performance, nearly got stopped in the 9th round last time. It's a big ask for Tyson Fury, but he's a big guy, and expect the unexpected. But I think Usyk's still a very, very tough man to beat.
Meanwhile, being Tyson's promoter and someone who knows all the ins and outs of boxing, Frank Warren claims that this fight or rematch will be the best ever event that the fans will get to witness this year because of its sheer magnitude and the very talented names that are involved in it.
Fabulous card. That fight's first time round was the biggest fight of the 21st century in the heavyweight division. I just keep using the word fabulous. It was a great fight. It was just a sensational fight. And they're going to do it again. And this time round, I think it's even going to be better.
Looking forward to seeing his fighter win back his belts and titles, Frank emphasized that even though Usyk might be the current king of the division in the public eyes, on 21st December, everyone will witness the resurgence of the Gypsy King despite all the haters going around spreading their hatred and pessimism.
Doubters, a lot of the journalists were saying that Usyk is now up there with all the legends of the sport. The Muhammad Alis, the Fraziers, the Foремans, the Joe Louis as being one of the greatest, and certainly the greatest of his generation. And I'm pleased they've said that, because when Tyson beats him, no one can debate the fact that he's beat the best of his generation, which will make him the best of his generation. Because if Tyson beats him, he then becomes the best heavyweight of his generation. I wouldn't disrespect him at all. He's done everything that's been asked of him. As an amateur, as a pro, he's undefeated.
Being another important person involved in all these decisions, along with Tyson Fury, his trainer Sugar Hill revealed in an interview that the weight gain issue is being blown out of proportion by the media because, at the end of the day, it is skills that matter the most, not the weight or size.
I'm not really into the weight thing. Heavyweights can fight at whatever weights they feel comfortable at. Tyson Fury was in shape for that fight. There's no need to say, oh, I wasn't in shape, because then that's not going to make an excuse.
Highlighting the main culprit behind their defeat in the last fight, Sugar blamed Tyson's sluggish performance in the 9th round, stating that if they had maintained a proper pace and kept up the momentum that they had built from the start, they could have won the bout.
Don't get caught in the 9th round. That's the plan. Don't get caught. Never mind what round, just don't get caught. It's their own opinion, so I'm not really into all that stuff. I just know what me and Tyson talked about, and we talked about don't get caught.
Another factor that Sugar emphasized was how this time their motive is to end the fight in an abrupt manner, preferably with a knockout, rather than allowing the decision to go to the judge's hand based on how the last time they lost due to the allegedly biased decision from the judges.
Don't get caught in the 9th round. That's the plan. Don't get caught. Never mind what round, just don't get caught. It's their own opinion, so I'm not really into all that stuff. I just know what me and Tyson talked about, and we talked about don't get caught.
With all these points in mind, Sugar seems to be excited about this chance at redemption, while simultaneously expressing his support for the British fighter. According to Sugar, no matter what the public perception might be, they have a solid game plan this time.
Let's just see what happens. For me, I like knockouts, so I like to see a knockout so we don't have to listen to the scorecards, period. Whether Tyson won or lost, on my side, I'm with Tyson, so obviously I'm not so happy about the loss because it was a loss, but the thing to do is just to learn from that and to get better.
With a somewhat ambiguous statement from Tyson's camp about the preparations for the fight, a vexed figure in British boxing has also shared his views on this battle involving his fellow countryman. According to Dillian Whyte, this fight will be anything but easy for either fighter. Being known as a vicious and dirty fighter who can use any means necessary to ensure his victory, Dillian advised Tyson to utilize his huge size in this rematch in order to bully and push the smaller fighter into a corner as early as possible.
Usyk and Fury.
Yeah, they're more than a week away, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's next week. Yeah.
I just think it's a great fight, man. But it's a very hard fight for me to. I keep trying to think, how's this fight gonna go? Okay, Fury can make adjustment, but Usyk also can make adjustment. It's a tough fight, man. It's a very, very tough fight for both men, you know, obviously.
Dismissing all the claims about Fury being washed out since last year, Dillian stated that age and vigor have never been an issue in boxing based on how countless times before many fighters have made spectacular comebacks against much stronger and adept opponents.
My personally, my chance of Fury, if I was Fury's coach, I would tell him, listen, you need to be aggressive, fight him like you fight Wilder the second time, and like you fight Steve Cunningham, you know, bring back.
Talking about the age and vigor of fighters, with only a few days left in the extravagant fight between Usyk and Fury, it looks like the main organizer of this event, His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, has plans to bring Tyson's old foe Vladimir Klitschko back to face the winner of this rematch.
We want to see you one more time in the ring. Trying to get chance to have the world champion belt again. Let's see the result of Tyson and Usyk. Let's see the result of Dubois. And I ask WBC, IBF, WBA, WBO to give you a chance to get this dream, and we can support it.
Fueled by this new incentive, the stakes of this rematch have reached new heights, and Vladimir seems to fancy Usyk to win in this rematch as well, due to the close bonds that both fighters share due to their common heritage. Comparing the strong points possessed by both the fighters, Vladimir emphasized how even though both fighters have varying styles, one having the size advantage and the other one being more intellectually adept when they get inside the ring, it makes up for an outstanding matchup.
There is certainly advantage on Tyson's side with reach and size. On the other hand, there is a huge advantage on technique of Oleksandr Usyk, and he showed that in the cruiserweight division, how great he was.
Reiterating the same ideas as Vladimir, former champion and professional fighter Sean Porter called this rematch history in the making, especially considering the epic conclusion of the first fight. Giving a more in-depth analysis, Sean looked back at the bout, stating that it was very hard to predict who might win even then because fighters refused to bow down.
And great first fight. I'm looking forward to the second one. I think, the first one was self-explanatory. Early was controlled by Fury, late controlled by Usyk. Amazing fight, and can't wait for the second one. Looking forward to seeing if that moment happens again for Usyk. However, the thing I cannot ignore is two things: the greatness of Oleksandr Usyk and the wars and the mileage on Tyson Fury. That mileage is something that we can't measure, and the greatness of Oleksandr Usyk, we can't measure that.
Voicing the ideas shared by many others, Sean stated that after the marvelous performance and serenity that was displayed by the Ukrainian beast in the last bout, he has earned himself the spot of the top fighter in the heavyweight division in this current era.
Oh, no argument.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, Tyson Fury has been the best heavyweight in boxing for a long time. And I really didn't think that Usyk was until he did what he did against Fury. I know he had a couple of wins against Joshua and a few others, but beating Tyson Fury, to me, solidified Usyk as the best heavyweight. He's got to do it again, and we'll see.
While Sean expressed his support for the British fighter for this rematch, he simultaneously warned him not to repeat his past mistakes like undermining his opponent and not taking the fight as seriously as he should have, which led to his defeat last time, especially in the last couple of rounds.
We can't measure that either, so I think the first fight we knew was 50-50. It really was a 50-50 fight. Same thing with the second one, but I'm willing to bet that Tyson Fury wins this one. I think it's Tyson Fury's fight to lose. And what I mean by that, what we could see in the first fight, he was bigger, he was stronger, he was sharper from the outside, a lot of things than Usyk. I think he had a moment where he got complacent, and he paid for it by losing the fight. You know, he lost the whole second half of the fight, including the knockdown, of course.
Sean also guided Fury to utilize his size properly this time, rather than wobbling around, because not only does he have the size advantage through which he can seriously bully the smaller fighter, but he is also equipped with unprecedented reach, which can put many fighters on edge.
He got caught with that punch in that moment in that round, and I think he's just going to fix that. The quietness that we're seeing, if anything, I feel is just his focus on making sure that he capitalizes on the rematch. So I actually do expect him to win this rematch. I think he's bigger than Usyk, and that size advantage that he has, he, unlike most fighters, knows how to use that size, that reach, that speed. I think the whole fight will play out the way that the first half played itself out. I think the whole fight's gonna go that way.
Giving their take on their fellow pundits' analysis and opinions surrounding this highly anticipated rematch, Paulie Malignaggi thinks that this fight is not something that Tyson and his camp should take lightly, because it is a do-or-die situation for them at this point.
You know, I certainly think that he knows it's a must-win situation. You know, you're at this point, you're in your mid-30s, and you came off this huge loss. Even with that split decision loss, if you lose again, you get sent back into the sort of the pile of the heavyweights, the mix, and there's some dangerous fights in there. But you know, do you really want to go get thrown back into that pile at this point in time in your life, where you've made money, you're comfortable, and you're at a point where it's hard to rebuild at this age?
Recalling the previous fight, Paulie stated that even though no one doubts that Tyson is an immaculate fighter who has great attributes, his physique has become rather questionable in the last couple of years, which, if not improved or maintained, can hinder his performance on fight night.
The mentality Fury has always shown us when he needs to be super focused, have that laser focus, I believe it might be there. My question is physically, is it there at this age? You know, sometimes your mind wants to be there, but your body at a certain age may not be there. I don't know. You know, I really don't know. But I'll tell you what, he hasn't always lived a great life between fights and whatnot, so that sort of ages you faster, right? So let's see if he can get his mind right the way he seems to be getting. Can he bring the physical part of it into the ring?
Now, even though most of Paulie's critiques seemed quite mellowed, the blunt analyst did not shy away from taking shots at Fury, stating how in the previous fight, Tyson allowed himself to be taken advantage of by a much smaller guy like Usyk, against whom he should not have had an issue.
Usyk was consistently putting that mental pressure, cutting off the ring, pressure bust pipes. It was gonna force a mistake. It was bound to force a mistake at a certain point. Fury never took advantage by backing up Usyk. He let Usyk continue to back him up, cut him off, and made him feel that strain and pressure, despite the fact that Fury was boxing well, but he was constantly having to feel that strain and that pressure, that mental anguish, and eventually it translated into an error. The pressure did bust the pipes.
Using the training camp for the Wilder rematch as an example, Paulie emphasized that in order for Tyson to get his footing back in the game, he has to make very meticulous and precise adjustments in his game plan, which will complement his opponent's fighting style.
Fury will have to make some adjustments, and a piece of me thinks that it could be in the form of the way he made the adjustment against Wilder, where from the first to the second fight, he went from a boxer on the back foot to a physical guy on the front foot because he was so much bigger. I'm curious to see how that will play out against Usyk. I will say this though, Usyk is not going to go as quietly as Wilder.
However conflicted on some of the points presented by his fellow analyst, former professional fighter and champion Chris Algieri thinks that no amount of preparation will ever prepare Tyson for the vicious mind games and techniques that Usyk has in his arsenal.
A very, very different fighter than Wilder, because Fury's normally the guy who pressures guys and breaks them over time. Now he's got a guy who does it. He does it, and he does it better than him. And he puts that pressure, and he stays in your face, and he has so much will, does Usyk. I don't see that fading just yet.
Not entirely sure about the definitive outcome of this upcoming fight. Like many other professionals, Chris stated that the result will entirely depend on the fighters themselves and what they will end up bringing out on the fight night.
I can see both versions. I can see Tyson going out there and doing what he did early in that fight and make it look easy and just get himself to a decision where he doesn't get hurt. But I also can absolutely see something similar to the last fight where Usyk gets him toward the end and is able to win enough rounds, even in the early and middle, to pull off the decision. Usyk's, man, he's a nightmare. He's just a trouble to deal with, a guy to get over him mentally. I think really with the thing about Usyk is his will. The guy refuses to lose, and I just don't know how he can be beaten yet.
Being a bit blunter with his analysis about this fight and Tyson's supposed shortcomings, former professional fighter and champion in 2 weight divisions, Michael Moore thinks that the debate about the previous fight being biased is nothing but pathetic, because no matter what Usyk would have won based on his excellent performance from the start till the end.
I did see it as a close fight, but I would have gave it to Usyk. You know, I'm a southpaw. He's a phenomenal fighter. Just the amateur tutelage behind him, and to go on to be a damn good professional fighter, you gotta take your hat off to him.
Having experience with what it takes to move up a weight class just as Usyk did, Michael believes that even though he does not agree with the idea of huge weight disparities between 2 opponents, in this case, size does not matter, because even with this disadvantage, Usyk outclassed everyone bigger than him.
But why not make it a fair fight? I think a fair fight when the weight differences are the allowance that they have, 50 pounds, 60 pounds, something like that. That's incredible. You know, why? Why not just do a super heavyweight division?
I guess to be fair, Usyk's a one-off. He's so incredibly talented. You're talking about generally across the board.
Right, right. Absolutely.
In this era, I'm talking about.
In this era, probably because he knows how to fight. Especially if you get a Ukrainian that knows how to fight, he'll go and be the heavyweight champ like he is. You know, he can be so much better.
Solidifying his pick for this rematch, Michael stated that his ultimate choice will always be Usyk, because not only is the Ukrainian fighter more intellectually gifted than Fury, but also because he is more in shape and tends to take every fight seriously, unlike Tyson, who has a track record of being sluggish.
Tyson Fury, back in the day, he wasn't a real boxer guy. He was, you know, out of shape, stuff like that. But Usyk was a guy that was always in shape, always doing the right things. I think Usyk will stop him probably 11th, 10th, 11th round, 10th or 11th round.
Going at Tyson, Michael blasted the 36-year-old fighter, stating that the main downfall of Tyson is that he tends to get overconfident, thinking that he might have an edge over his opponents all the time, which after the last fight is something that is not true.
Well, 9 times out of 10, Tyson Fury he sparred with southpaws. I'm sure he think he's done everything right to be a southpaw. You know, Sugar Hill's doing a great job with him, but my thing is with Oleksandr Usyk, he just has the smarts to do so much more.
Another person who seems to be against Tyson and the antics he pulled in the last fight is Usyk's former coach James Ali Bashir, who raised some distinctive concerns about the biased nature of the authoritative figures in the last fight. According to James, the fight was going to be concluded in the 9th round with a knockdown nonetheless, but due to the unwarranted involvement of the referee, Tyson was saved from this outcome, giving him a chance to find his footing back in the ring.
I don't think it was razor thin. You know, I think that Usyk beat him hands down. I think they saved Fury from being KO'd by Usyk, you know. They said, oh, when Fury fell against the ropes, that should have been considered as a knockdown. But if you notice, if you go back and look at the fight, he sagged against the ropes before that. Referee stepped in and said, I had to give him a count because he sagged against the ropes. But if you look back, he sagged against the ropes before that. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say a single thing. So in my mind, the referee saved Fury from being KO'd in that fight because Usyk sure had him. He had him in a fix. he had him in a fix. He had him in a place where he's going to knock him out.
Aware of the gravity of these things, James emphasized that in this fight, Usyk would come back more determined and stronger than ever and would try everything in his power to make sure that this time he gets a proper victory, devoid of any outside involvement like the previous one.
So I think that Usyk knows that the deck is stacked against him. They know that they know that commercially they could do some things with Fury on the way out. Tons of money is involved with this here. But I think that Oleksandr Usyk is going to pull it out. It wasn't the first fight. That's the difference. The guy has a lot of pride. A lot of dig down. In boxing, they call it dig down when it counts. When people assume that he's going to be ready for the operating table, he's going to dig down. He's going to fight.
Sharing his personal experience while training the Ukrainian Devil, James stated that Usyk will have a definitive victory this time because there is no one in the heavyweight division at this moment who works more proficiently and with more passion than him.
This guy has a lot of pride. He has a lot of dig down, and he's not going to be pushed around by nobody. And the bigger and tougher the guy is, the bigger and tougher Usyk is. The guy has a lot of heart, a lot of concentration, good chin, good skills. He's going to dig down.
Derek Chisora came out in a recent interview debating about this upcoming rematch, pointing out the hypocrisy of Tyson's campo amid this fight. According to Chisora, Fury might go around taunting other fighters for their alleged shortcomings, but when it comes to his own fights, he is not any better.
I've worked hard to get those belts, and you lost them to a smaller man. I have to send the
middleweight.
No, you're gonna have to go send the rabbit. No, I have to send the Lancaster bomber. And he was like, yeah. And then suddenly, fast forward later, deja vu. Belts. He lost his belt as well.
While talking about the potential regimes that Tyson has been following throughout his months-long training camp, Chisora pointed out how none of these activities or sparring partners add anything new or unique to Tyson's game plan, which might help him in this rematch.
Do I believe Tyson can beat you, Alexander? I look at everybody he's got in his sparring camp. I personally don't believe that you can actually. The sparring partners he's got right now, they're pushing him to be menace. You know, they are in awe of Tyson. You know, they will pull their punches when they're sparring. You know, they will. This is what I'm seeing from the things I see on Instagram. So, I mean, what I see, what Alexander's doing is totally different to what. Because I think Alexander's way is more like start fast and finish fast.
Also pointing out Tyson's lack of proper confidence in the previous fight, Derek stated that it appeared almost absurd that a world champion and someone who has faced so many formidable opponents before could not muster enough nerve to properly stand against his challenger.
So he didn't spar the way he wanted to spar.
You think underprepared, like for a fight of that magnitude?
Underprepared, yeah. Do you understand? Underprepared for that fight. You understand? And the confidence was not there. Because if you realize, he was mucking around for the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Meanwhile, comparing this with the training camp that Usyk has been involved in, Derek thinks that the difference is night and day because the focal aspect that Usyk has been following is improving himself by partaking in intense sparring sessions and conditioning.
I mean, what I see, what Alexander's doing is totally different to what. Because I think Alexander's way is more like start fast and finish fast. He knows he can hurt him now. So he's going to come and try and hurt him. You will not, as he keeps saying, you won't leave him alone. I would love Tyson to win, but right now, those odds are not looking great.
Moving on, while analyzing the previous fight, one fact that many analysts have brought up is the supposed overconfidence and nonchalant behavior of Fury, which led to his ultimate demise against a much more relaxed and patient Usyk. Elaborating on this factor, prominent reporter and expert Johnny Nelson thinks that the deciding factor of this rematch will be Tyson's behavior and overall attitude going into this fight, because if he enters with the same bravado as last time, he will face another defeat on his record.
I'm quite sure this is a lot more personal for Tyson Fury, no matter how he tries to look at it, because now he's come up against a guy that he can't intimidate, he can't kid and con because it's lost in translation, and he's come up against a guy that he just doesn't give him anything. And so Fury knows now it's about all his skills, all his ability, all his experience, and the fight that he's got left inside him. That's got to be enough, because if it isn't, it's quite clear this fight would probably go shorter than the last fight did.
Sharing some valuable advice to Tyson, Johnny stated that if Tyson wants to make a comeback, then he must utilize his huge size along with his boxing abilities in the earlier rounds, while simultaneously not allowing the fight to stretch any longer than necessary.
Use his strength, use his size, use his physicality, which is what he should have done in the first place. And that's what he needs to do now. And Tyson has to make sure that combined with his boxing ability needs to put the pressure on him from the off, because the longer the fight goes, there's more chance of him not being able to maintain that constant pressure, physical pace on Usyk.
In a sly move, Johnny also quoted the trademark saying of the Ukrainian fighter about how he will never leave Tyson alone and will make sure that in this rematch he comes at him from every direction, not allowing him any opportunity to escape from his brutal jab.
That is the aim, and if I'm honest with you, I thought Fury would be too sharp, too smart, too big for him in the first fight, but he ended up outsmarting himself. Usyk just wouldn't leave him alone, made him work constantly on the back foot, on the front foot, and Fury was trying to, be busy looking good, trying to outfox him, outsmart him. But Usyk was consistent, persistent, and he kept him on the back foot. Whereas Usyk, what he said in the first fight, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to make you work for your supper, and that's what he did.
Comparing this rematch with that between Usyk and Anthony Joshua in 2022, Johnny highlighted how after every fight with an opponent, Usyk only gets stronger and more calculated, allowing him to overcome past hurdles and overwhelm his opponent the next time they face one another.
What he can do, in my opinion, I think the problem is now Usyk's tasted his strength, his speed, his pace once. He has a better measure of him. Remember what he did with Anthony Joshua? Anthony Joshua tried the same tactics of Fury, tried to outbox him, outsmart him. And then in the second fight, Usyk's performance against AJ, even though AJ's performance was great, Usyk's performance was better, it was more calculated. And it will be the same here. Now he has the measure of the man in Tyson Fury.
Being a legend in the sport and a renowned Hall of Famer boxer, Bernard Hopkins has always possessed a keen eye for new talent and potential greatness in boxing. And according to the most recent statement issued by him, it looks as if he is all in support of Oleksandr Usyk in this rematch on the 21st of December.
I just like Usyk possibly by stoppage late and not by a punch. I think it'd just be a mercy call by the referee.
Elaborating on his choice of winner, Bernard stated that even though many might overlook Usyk as a serious threat due to his smaller size and relatively less commercial success, no one can question his abilities as a fighter and a champion in the heavyweight division.
I think the smaller guy is really the big guy in heart and big guy in talent. I just think that, and I'm been with Tyson Fury when he fought, most of the people he fought for is picking him to win.
Praising Usyk for his extraordinary boxing IQ and prowess, Bernard thought that if the smaller fighter maintained the same pace and composure that he had the last time, then he would most definitely win, because no matter the training, Fury does not possess the means to counter that.
I believe Usyk has his number, and I believe that he's not a big heavyweight, which I think helps him in this particular fight. I just think he has the IQ that Tyson Fury won't be able to keep up and withstand as time or rounds go on. I just like Usyk possibly by stoppage late.
With the ongoing fierce duality regarding the opinions surrounding this highly awaited rematch, one aspect that everyone seems to be united on is the astronomical commercial success of this event, which is only going to be more pronounced due to the involvement of the Saudi officials and His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh. So in the end, what are your thoughts about this fight? Do you agree with all these analyses and predictions made by the professionals in the field? Or do you think the result will be something much more spectacular than ever witnessed before in the history of the heavyweight division? Make sure to tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to our channel.